Once upon a time, in Breman Asikuma Senior High School, there was a dark-skinned boy named Kofi. He wasn't the most popular, nor was he the loudest in the class, but there was something quiet about him that drew people in. His close friends knew he was intelligent and had a deep sense of humor, but Kofi wasn't really one to chase after attention. Kofi had always been content with his life, focused on his studies and spending time with his friends. But that all changed the day he first laid eyes on Angela, or as everyone in school called her, and she was a fair-skinned, poised, and elegant girl. Known for her grace and intelligence, she was the protocol prefect, responsible for ensuring that all school events went smoothly, and was admired by many, her beauty and composure making her a topic of conversation in almost every hallway and classroom. It was a typical afternoon at the school's dining hall when Kofi first met her. He was sitting at his usual spot, picking at his food, when Anne walked in with a group of prefects, her white uniform standing out against the dark wood of the hall. Kofi noticed her immediately. She had that air of confidence that only a few people seemed to possess, yet there was also a quiet vulnerability in her eyes that made Kofi want to know more. Anne caught him staring and smiled, a small but warm gesture. Kofi froze, his heart suddenly racing in a way he had never experienced before. His friends nudged him, teasing him softly, but Kofi couldn't look away. From that day, Kofi found himself noticing and more. She would pass by him in the halls, and she always greeted him with a polite smile. It was nothing extravagant, just a simple, "Hey, Kofi," that made his chest tighten with something he couldn't quite understand. Kofi's school sister, Alma, noticed the way Kofi's demeanor changed around, and Alma, who sat next to Kofi in most of their classes, had harbored feelings for him for a while. She had always been the one to take care of him, to make sure he was okay with his assignments, and to share her notes whenever he was absent. She had hoped that one day, Kofi would notice her the way he seemed to notice, but now, seeing him smile at the mention of Anne's name, Alma couldn't ignore the pang in her heart. The class started to notice too. Whispers of Kofi and Anne began circulating, fueled by the small moments between them. Kofi's shy glances and subtle gestures, the way they interacted in group projects. The rumor mill turned, and soon enough, the entire school was convinced that Kofi and Anne were dating. But Kofi wasn't sure. He didn't know if Anne even saw him in that way. Sure, they exchanged small conversations, but it was always polite, always formal. He wondered if she knew about Alma's feelings for him and how it affected the dynamic between them all. Alma, though kind and gentle, had become distant, and Kofi could feel the tension. One afternoon, after school, Kofi found himself sitting alone on a bench near the school garden, lost in thought. He had just come from a meeting where Anne had been giving instructions to the prefects, her voice clear and commanding. As he sat there, he heard footsteps approaching. It was Anne. "Hey, Kofi," she said softly, sitting next to him. Her presence was calm, and for the first time, Kofi felt like they were truly alone, not surrounded by classmates or whispers. "I've been meaning to ask, are you okay? You've seemed a little distant lately." Kofi looked at her, his heart pounding. He had never been good with words, but he didn't want to lie to her. "I guess I've just been thinking a lot about things lately," he said, his voice quieter than usual, and smiled, her eyes softening. "I understand. School can be a lot sometimes. But you know, Kofi, you don't have to go through it alone. I've noticed how hard you work. I admire that." The sincerity in her voice left Kofi speechless. All at once, he felt the weight of everything he had been avoiding, his feelings for her, the pressure of school, the tension with Alma, and he didn't know how to handle it. But in that moment, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't deny his feelings for Anne any longer. I think I like you," and he admitted, his voice trembling. "But I don't want to hurt Alma. I don't know what to do." Anne's expression softened even more, and she reached out, placing a gentle hand on his. "Kofi, I'm not asking you to choose between us. I just want you to be happy. And if that means you and I," she paused, a small smile tugging at her lips, "then we'll figure it out together." Kofi felt a wave of relief wash over him. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he was standing on solid ground. And as he looked at and he realized that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to make things work. Over the next few weeks, Kofi and began to spend more time together, talking after class, studying together, and helping one another with schoolwork. They grew closer, and the rumors about their relationship continued to swirl. Amma, though hurt, eventually came to accept that Kofi and had a connection she couldn't deny. Amma herself began to focus on her own goals and dreams, knowing that her feelings for Kofi wouldn't define her. By the end of the term, Kofi and were more than just classmates. They were partners, not only in school but in life. And as for Amma, she had grown to respect the bond they shared, even if it wasn't the one she had hoped for. Kofi and Anne's story wasn't perfect, but it was real.